In this video, I'm going to demonstrate the having clause. It's the last clause we're going to learn in all of our SQL language. Previous videos, we've talked about aggregate functions: count, max, min, sum, average. And then we learned about the group by clause, where I want to do a count of all the people in a particular group, or I want to count things that are in a group. Okay, so we did this exercise where I wanted to know how many orders were placed by each of our customers. So I grabbed their first and last name. I'm going to count the order numbers. I'm going to group by first and last name. And when I run that, here's what I see. I see each of the customers and how many orders they've placed. But what if the question was, I only want to see customers who've placed more than one order? So that's where we introduce the having clause. Basically, the having clause is only used in conjunction with the group by clause. That's the only time we use it. And what it is used for is to eliminate groups. All right? So in this case, I only want to see the groups who've placed more than one order. So greater than or equal to 2, or I could have just said greater than 1, however you want to phrase that. But it's all about eliminating groups. The where clause, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, is for eliminating records before we ever do our aggregate functions. Whereas the having clause is all about eliminating groups after we've done our aggregate function. So in this case, if I were to run this, and now I scroll up our result, I'm only going to see those people who've placed more than one order. Okay, so let's do another example. Let's say I want to show all the categories of the books, right, whose average profit is greater than 15. So I'm just only going to run through the group by clause first. And the reason is I like to see the results of every category. What is their average profit, average retail minus cost, right? So if I run just that bit, I didn't select the having clause yet. So I'll run that, and here's what I'm seeing. There's every category, right? And then this is the average retail minus cost across that category, across that group. So now let's add the having clause. What is that going to do? If I scroll back up, I'm saying only show me those groups where that average is greater than 15. So children is going to get eliminated, cooking is going to get eliminated, fitness and self-help will get eliminated. So when I run that, hit that, there we go. I just have business, computer, family life, and literature all above 15. So I can't emphasize enough that having is only used for eliminating groups. So let's change that query up a little bit. Same idea. Category, average retail from cost, minus cost from books, but I have a where clause. Okay, I only want to do this for books where the pub date is greater than 2005. So what's going to happen in this query is, if you recall the order of operations in a query, it's going to grab the from statement and say, okay, go get the books table. I got it. Then it's going to take all the records of the book table and start eliminating those records that don't meet this criteria. So when it's done, I only have books where the publication date is greater than this date. Then it will group by category. So now it's going to take the remaining books, whatever's left, group them up by category, and then it's going to take an average of the retail minus cost in each of those categories. And finally, whatever groups are left, or whatever groups are displayed, this will then eliminate those groups to only show me those people who are greater, where that average retail minus cost is greater than 15. So for instance, if I run this, the actual numbers are going to be a little bit different. Probably not for all of them, because some of these groups only have one book. And so if it happens to be greater than this, then that number will be the same. But I think, for instance, business, right now is showing 1655. If I run just this piece of this, all of a sudden, oh, business didn't even show up. What happened? Well, there you go. That, I guess, just kind of makes my point in that business doesn't even have any books that are greater than 2005 or that category. But notice, I guess it was the computer one I should have looked at. It right now it's 1616 because we eliminated some of those books. If I run back up here, and run it without the where clause, computer was 1826. And then if I run it down here with the where clause, computer is 1616, right? So your average retail minus cost changed because I eliminated records based on that criteria before I ever did the average. So anyway, then the having clause is going to eliminate these groups. And so now when I run it, I'm only going to get the groups that have the average retail greater than 15. So when I run the whole kit and caboodle, I'm just down to these two groups. So now let's do another example. So give me a list of customers and order numbers for those orders where the total is greater than 100. So if you're calling a previous video on our books database, how did we get an order total? Well, I had to sum the quantity times paid each, and then I needed to group that by the order number. Okay, and that gives me the order total. Well, in this case, because I wanted to see the customer and the order number, I'm doing customer num, comma, order num. Because I have two columns in the select, I need both of those columns in my group by. And then customer number is in the orders table. Order num is in both, in the order num and or orders and order item table. Okay, so I have my join. I'm grouping, and then I only want to see those groups where that number is greater than 100. So just to demonstrate, I'm only going to run through the group by first. So I'll hit that. Now I can see the customer number, the order number, and the amount. Okay, so for every order, here is their total. Well, of course, the question was only show me those orders where that total is greater than 100. So I need to eliminate some of these groups. That's the having clause. I want a having where that sum, that order total, is greater than 100. So I'll run that. And now I'm only seeing the customer and the order where that total is greater than 100. Something I'll mention here, I haven't been using column aliases, and I should be, because obviously these column titles aren't good form. So basically this is an order total. I'll put it in single quote order total, all one word. And in MySQL at least, I can use that column alias in the having clause. And I'm not sure if that's true for all systems. I don't know. It seems odd to me that does work here, but it does. I can use the alias. I know it works in the order by clause. I wasn't sure about the having clause, but it does. So now I can say having an order total greater than 100, and I'll still get the same result, and order total as the alias will now show up in as a column title. Now, I want to emphasize one more time that the having clause is always used in conjunction with the group by clause, because now that I've showed the having clause, a lot of students will start using it in place of a where clause. So it doesn't make sense. So I'll have a simple question like, show me all the books where the retail price is greater than 10. Well, that's a where clause, right? There's a column called retail in the books table, and I just want to see where that price is greater than 10. The only time you're going to run into a having clause is because I have an aggregate function like a count, a max, a min, a sum. And then I'm grouping on something and I want to eliminate the groups. Okay, the where clause is going to eliminate records before you ever do the aggregate function. All right, well, let's do one more example for this video, and then we'll be done. And that's, I want to answer this question. Show me all the customers that purchase more than one ISBN in an order. And what I want to do in this example is kind of show you, as queries get more complicated, my strategy is always start with something I know how to do and then work from there. So for instance, this question, show me all the customers that purchase more than one ISBN. I'm like, well, you know, I just need to see what's in the order items table. Show me the order number, the item number, and the ISBN, and let's just take a look at that. And I'm ordering by the first column in this case. So you run in here and go, okay, I get this. Here's people's order number, their item number, right? So on this order 1000, they only bought one item, whereas on 1001, we got an item 1 and an item 2. On 1002, they only bought one item. 1003, they bought 1, 2, 3 items. So there's probably a couple ways to solve this problem, but one would be maybe if I can find the max item number grouped by order number, then I could eliminate all those groups where that max item number is not greater than 1. Or that is only 1, let's just say that. So let's just start with that. I'm going to take the order number and find the max item number. So I'm going to go ahead and run that query. And here we go. For each order, here is its max item number at that point. Okay, so what I did is I took order num. I'm grabbing the max item number out of that grouping. And of course, I had to group by order num because I have it not select. All right. So now when I run this one right above here is the one I just ran. I'm just saying, let's group on order number, and within that group, grab the largest item number out of there. So if they bought more than one thing, remember that item number increments, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if they only bought one item, the item number is just a 1. So now, of course, because I've grouped on order number, I have a max. I can say only show me those orders where the item number is greater than 1. So that's the having clause. So now when I run this, here's my order numbers, and here is the max item number. So I can tell this person bought 2 different ISBNs, this person bought 3 different ISBNs, etc. But we're not done, because I said I wanted to know the customer number, the customer name associated with these orders. So let's go add in order number, customer number. We're adding in the customer number, but of course the customer number is not in the order items table. So I have to join that to the orders. And then because I've added it up here, I have to group by that same thing. And in this case, this is going to work. I'm going to show you an example where you have to be careful when I add a column. When you add it to the group by, it changes the nature of your query a little bit. In this case, it doesn't, because for every order number, there's only one corresponding customer number. So grouping on customer number isn't changing anything, because each order will have a group of one customer number. So when I run that, I get the order number, the customer number, I'm getting the same results. And finally, if I wanted the people's last name associated with that customer number, then I add the last name. Of course, the last name is in the customers table, so I have to join the customers table using customer num to my previous join of order items to order, and then I have to group by that. Again, we're going to be okay because there is a group of orders here, and the customer number and last name will just be, there's only one of them per that group. So I'm not ruining anything here. And then finally, we'll add to our having clause to eliminate some groups. And so there we go. I have my order number, the customer number, their name, and how many ISBNs they ordered on that particular order. Now, let me give you a quick example of when adding something to a group by clause will actually ruin your query a little bit. So let's say I want to find the highest retail price book. Give me the title of the highest retail price book. Now, there's a couple ways of doing this, but I'm going to do it this one way to make my demonstration work out. So before I even run this, I'm just, or get into my demonstration, let's just take a look at the books table. And I've ordered it by retail price. So obviously here it is. This is the entire table, and I sorted by retail price, so it's at the top. So it's this Painless Child Rearing at $89.95. Good. So I can ask the question, rather than just sort to get it to the top, I want to just use my max aggregate function. So select max retail from books, and of course I'm going to get that price, $89.95. Well, then a lot of times students will go, oh, well, I need to know the title of that book. So they'll add title, right? Well, a lot of times, of course, as I mentioned in a previous video, then they forget to add, they don't put it in the group by clause. They'll do this, which in any other system would not run, but here it does run. And so without adding the group by clause, they get this and they turn that in as the answer, and it's the wrong answer, right? And that's the problem with MySQL allowing those things to run. It just grabs basically the last title that was displayed and sticks in the max retail price next to it. Okay, so then you're like, all right, whoops, I forgot my group by clause. So you add that in, but now what is this doing? Remember what group by does? If you will, it kind of sorts or groups the data based on the thing you're asking it to group on, title. Well, for each title, how many records are there? There's only one. The title is unique in this database, right? So to find the max retail by this group, it's basically you're just doing a select title from books, right? Because every group is a group of one, and what's the max retail of that group? Well, it's the one price. So when you run that, I grouped by title, which of course there's only one, and there's the max retail for every title. And so here's our painless child rearing at $89.95, but it really didn't get us the answer. So what we're going to demonstrate in the next video is where we start doing subqueries, where I will do this query inside a where clause. Now say, show me the title of the book where retail equals that query. And so that'll be called a subquery at that point. So just be careful. You got to think about what's going on when you group by. If you were to try to group by ISBN, right, it would be a waste of time because every ISBN is unique. So it would be a group of one. And then whatever aggregate function you're doing it against a group of one, which in this case, in the books table, you'd just bring back every record at that point. So that's it. Having clause, only only ever used with the group by clause. So make sure you understand that. And then make sure you understand the where clause eliminates records before we ever do any aggregation. So it would change the result of the aggregation when you put in a where clause, which sometimes you need to. So that's it.